back at someone for doing something to you that didn't go well. Everyone has had vengeance on their mind, there's no denial. But have you ever done it out of love? In this case, someone did and got something that they didn't bargain for. The day started, the sun rose up to the sky, and the birds began to sing. Jennifer woke up and got ready for the day. Now, Jennifer was the most nicest person you could ever meet. She was an innocent mind and an innocent person. People like this are rare to come by now, especially nowadays where everyone seems to be selfish and or keeps to themselves because of trust issues. But Jennifer was different. She was friendly to everyone no matter the looks or personality, and she was good looking too. On the rare occasions she would have guys asking her out, but she rejected them, but she did feel guilty for breaking their hearts. This day just so happened to be her turn. Jennifer arrived to school and met up with her friends before class to talk about a guy. Jennifer and her friends were sat at the quad where tables, benches, and every other thing you would see were placed there for students to rest and chill in between breaks. Class began in 5 minutes, so the conversation ended in a bit of an unexpected turn. Upon walking into class, she immediately noticed that there was a new guy, and from the moment they made eye contact, it was love at first sight. Jennifer felt butterflies in her stomach. She even felt weak to a point, but it was weird. She never felt like this, nonetheless, over a guy. This would have been it, but to make matters awkward for her, the guy was told to sit next to her as there was an available seat. Not long after the guy sat down, he began a conversation with Jennifer. The guy sat down and said, "So, how does a day in this school look like?" Jennifer turned to look at him and gave a little smile and replied, "Depends on how you like it here. If you like school for what it is, then I guess it'll go smooth. But if you like it because of the people that come here, then it'll be cool. Time will go fast. But to answer your question, a day looks nice, not bad." The guy responded, "Well, that's good to hear. That old school I used to go to was boring. From head to toe, nobody really did anything, and they kept to themselves." Jennifer asked, "From what school did you come from?" The guy replied, "Steppin' High." Jennifer responded, "Oh, you're not from here." The guy said, "No, I moved from Arizona to here, New Mexico." "Oh, so you're not from New Mexico, that's cool," replied Jennifer as she smiled again. The guy noticed this and said, "You know, over there back at my old school, the girls weren't as beautiful as you." Jennifer laughed in the moment, but it was a "I'm in love with you" laugh, and almost instantly she regretted laughing as the whole class heard her and some kids even turned. And to make things even worse, the teacher said, "Jennifer, you aren't hitting on the new guy already, right?" Jennifer immediately felt awkward and began to blush and felt her heart drop and didn't have it in her to look back at the guy. The guy was able to feel the awkwardness and said, "Don't feel awkwardly bad because I'm hitting on you too." From the moment Jennifer heard that the guy said that, it was like the one above had finally listened to her. Jennifer smiled big time and the guy said, "My name is Nathaniel, but I'm pretty sure you'll be calling me babe soon. That's of course if you accept to get with me." Jennifer wrote on a piece of paper, "Yes, I'd love to which the guy read and said, "Great, see you after class." Jennifer tried to stop smiling, but it was hard for her, now that she practically had a boyfriend. Time couldn't have gone any slower, meaning she felt the time go by, and it wasn't fast. Jennifer was prepared to date, but wasn't for what was in store for her. Perhaps it was fate calling out her name. When love comes, loads of things come with it. Responsibility, loyalty, and so on. But time to time, darkness will prevail and overcome love. Now that love was in the air for Jennifer, so was darkness, and you know what they say, you can't contain the darkness. But this time, Toxicity was out looking for a victim with no mercy. When class finally ended, they were dismissed, and everyone began walking out, and once outside, both Jennifer and Nathaniel held hands. There wasn't a date, they just got together and went on with their day. When Jennifer went to meet up with her friends for the 7 minutes they had in between classes, she shocked them when she arrived with a guy. Both of her friends, Amanda and Stoss, were impressed. To avoid any problem, they didn't ask what had happened to Sam, as she had gotten with this Nathaniel kid. When Amanda was going to ask about their date, they left. Jennifer and Nathaniel walked off almost as if they didn't have heard them. Amanda was speechless and could only say, Stas jumped in saying, "Did they just leave without saying goodbye?" Amanda replied, "Yeah, they did, but something's off. She's not like that." Stas replied, saying, "If she begins to change, we know who's the problem." Amanda said, "Yeah, keep an eye out." Amanda and Stas parted ways and headed to class. Jennifer did not have Nathaniel for second period and had to say goodbye, for now, until nutrition. While Jennifer was in class working on a test, she began to experience something as she stared at her paper from the corner of her eye. She could see something standing in the distance by the wall. At first, it didn't bother her. Then she continued on with her test, but in a span of 5 minutes, that silhouette of the thing began to walk towards her. Jennifer finally gave in and looked at it. It gave it attention and its direction, but there was nothing there. Her movement alerted the supervisor and asked, "Hey, was there anyone over there on that side of the room?" The supervisor replied, "No." Jennifer nodded and said, "Oh," and went back to work on her test. The remainder of the class time, Jennifer was on edge on what she had encountered. She was keeping an eye out for any shadows or silhouettes, but no more ever appeared again, so she thought she was just hallucinating. It overstress of the test. When the bell rang, everyone turned in their tests and were free to go. When Jennifer stepped outside the class, Nathaniel was waiting for her, to which they both grabbed each other's hands and walked together. During nutrition, Jennifer always grabbed second breakfast with Amanda and Stas, but today she didn't. Instead, she showed Nathaniel around school. Amanda and Stas saw this and knew that the time came. The day Jennifer began to hang out with them less had come, and just like that, they were about to talk about it. And then Sam walked up to them and asked, "Hey girls, do you know where Jennifer is? I was going to ask her out." Stas said, "Oh my," as they always knew Sam was going to ask Jennifer out, but Amanda said, "Sam, I am truly sorry, but she began to date this new kid, Nathaniel," and pointed at them. Sam looked over and saw them, and almost immediately his mood changed. Both the girls saw as Sam's heart broke and tried to comfort him by hugging him as friends. Sam sighed and then said, "I appreciate you girls. Thanks for everything, all the way from supporting me to downright helping me to try and ask her out, but I was too late." While Sam tried to deal with him losing his chance, Jennifer was on cloud 9. She was just in love to a point where she thought she never would be. She didn't think it was possible. She sat with Nathaniel in the amphitheater and talked. "So what do you find attractive in other girls besides personality?" asked Jennifer. Nathaniel smiled and said, "The way you girls laugh in a cute way. I find it attractive, but I'm sure I'm the only guy to have ever say that." Jennifer replied, "Don't be ashamed, babe. I'm sure there are other guys that find our laughs cute." Nathaniel responded, "You think so?" And just as she was about to reply, once again she saw the same silhouette through the corner of her eye. So this time she moved her eyes in that direction instead of her head and was able to make out only a few features before it vanished. It was tall, around 5'8", and appeared to be female. Nathaniel looked to see where Jennifer was looking at, but saw nothing and asked, "Babe, are you okay? Is something wrong?" Jennifer replied, "Yes, it's just that's the second time I see this shadow through the corner of my eye." Nathaniel asked, "Can you make out any features?" Jennifer replied, "It appears to be around 5'7" to 6 feet and has a female appearance to it." Nathaniel responded, That's weird, but hey, I'm here. I won't let anything hurt you," as she kissed him. They began to make out, but from the distance, this thing was observing them. It didn't move or do anything. It just stared at them. No expression, no nothing. The rest of the day, things went as normal could be. But of course, unbeknown to Jennifer, she was being watched by this thing the whole day. For Jennifer, it was the best day to have ever come, but to Sam, it was the day he dreaded for months on end. When the school day ended, Jennifer got walked home by Nathaniel. On the way there, they crossed paths. with Amanda and Stas, and they were accompanied by Sam. Jennifer ran up to them with Nathaniel and said, "Hey guys." Jennifer went to give Sam a friendly hug, but he went to try and push her off. "What the hell, Sam? What's wrong with you?" asked Jennifer. "What's wrong with you? Don't you have a boyfriend? You shouldn't be hugging other guys," replied Sam. Jennifer stood quiet as she knew Sam was right, and in that moment all five of them heard the gentle footsteps behind them, as if a girl was following them. All of them turned around, but saw no one, and from there on out the footsteps disappeared. They weren't heard again. They all stood motionless and stared at each other for a solid 10 seconds. "Y'all heard that right?" said Sam. "Loud and clear, brother," replied Nathaniel, and that's when they continued on walking. They had to cross the street, but the light went red, so they had to wait for the next green light. As Amanda went to press the button to cross the main road, Jennifer saw someone across from them, but a bus passed through, but when it was gone, so was the person. No one could disappear in a matter of 5 seconds. Jennifer once again thought she was hallucinating. Eventually, Jennifer got home and parted ways with Nathaniel, but so far everything was good, besides the few hallucinations. When night came, Jennifer was having dinner with her mom, and that's also where she told her about her boyfriend, to which her mom approved of the relationship. And then Jennifer said, "Wish Dad was still here," to which her mom replied, "I do too." Her dad passed away a few years back to natural causes, and she was left with her mom, and sometimes it was a struggle, but they got through it together. Her mom said if he was here, he would probably be demanding to know where he lives, to which Jennifer laughed and said, "Yeah, he probably would." There was a slight moment of silence, but it was broken when the neighbor's dog began barking. Jennifer said, "Fuck, here we go again. That stupid dog better not bark all night again." And as soon as she said that, the dog went quiet. Then the wind began to pick up, the house made cracking noises, and the trees began to move round. The wind was also making noise, as every entrance was closed, and even though the door was shut, the wind pushed it, making it seem as if somebody was there. Then flickered, to which Jennifer's mom said, "Oh dear, the wind sure is picking up." Jennifer checked the time and saw it was barely 9 p.m. and knew it was going to be a long night. When they were done eating, they brushed their teeth and went to bed. Once Jennifer laid in bed, she got the heavy sensation to sleep and knocked out in about 2 minutes. As Jennifer slept from outside her bedroom window and across the street, something or someone was standing there, staring directly at her house in the direction of her room. Jennifer was sound asleep when she heard, "Psst, hello." Jennifer sat up quickly and began to look around to her room. "Jenny." Jennifer looked to her left fast but saw nothing. The voice seemed to be female and was a low whisper. Jennifer began to feel less comfortable and more scared. "Run while you still can." Jennifer looked at the window that was straight ahead and thought she saw something move through the curtain. Then she heard tapping on the window to her left, to which she jumped out of fear. She got out of bed, slipped on her slippers, and got close to the window. She hesitated and opened the blinds, relieved when she saw it was just a branch that tapped her window. Then just as she was calm, she heard, "Ha ha, boo," next to her ear. Jennifer screamed and then opened her eyes and sat up out of bed. It was only a dream, she thought to herself as her heart was racing. Jennifer checked the time and saw it was almost 5 a.m. and felt good as she still had an hour left to sleep. Jennifer went back to sleep happily, and just as she did, from the window to her left, a shadowy arm left view. Sweet dreams. Jennifer's alarm went off at 6 a.m. on the dot, and she proceeded to get ready for the school day and had a smile on her face as she knew she'd see Nathaniel again. Jennifer went to take a nice warm shower, and she began to reflect on the shadowy figure from yesterday and then her dream, and freaked out when she put and connected two and two together. The features on the thing was feminine, and the voices she heard in her dream was also feminine. She then began to think about what it said, "Run while you still can." What did that mean? Was it a sign? When Jennifer stepped out the bathroom, she instantly was hit with a cool, chilling breeze that sent shivers down her back and got the chills. When she began to get dressed, her mom walked in telling her to wear a good sweater as it was extremely cold. Jennifer didn't think anything of it until she stepped outside her house and saw that it was extremely cloudy to the point it still looked semi-dark out. Jennifer checked her phone and saw that it was supposed to be sunny, and she thought to herself, what the hell is going on? When she got in the car with her mom and got ready to get driven to school, the radio turned on. Run. Jennifer looked at the radio with a scared look on her face, to which her mom said, wow, that was weird. The radio turned on just as the current song ended, and laughed, but Jennifer didn't. She was thinking about her dream. They began their ride to their destination. Everything seemed normal, but as they passed the park next to the school, something caught Jennifer's attention. She saw a shadow hide itself in the tree line as they passed by. Jennifer thought to herself, what was that? But nothing else happened. When she arrived to school, she kissed her mom goodbye one last time. As Jennifer entered her class building to wait inside, she did not notice the figure standing at the top looking down at her. Jennifer texted Nathaniel, but she got no response. She even called him, but it went straight to voicemail, so she assumed that he was possibly still in bed or was getting ready. Amanda and Stas did not even meet up with Jennifer, as they assumed she was being all lovey-dovey with Nathaniel. Class began and Jennifer noticed that Nathaniel did not come in and assumed he was out sick and texted him once again, but got no response. That's when the teacher told the class that they needed to use their textbooks, to which Jennifer asked to go get it from her locker. When she got the green light from the teacher, she went to get it, but on the way back to class, that's when she saw Nathaniel, but he was making out with another girl, and that shattered Jennifer's heart into pieces. For the rest of the school day, Jennifer held in tears from the pain, but there was no point in trying as she broke down. During nutrition break, Jennifer met up with Amanda and Stas, and she told them what had happened. Amanda said, hey, you good? Jennifer replied, no, Nathaniel cheated on me. Both Stas and Amanda were quiet, and Stas broke it by saying, why did you date him without actually getting to know him first? Jennifer responded, I don't know, I guess I was just blinded. Stas said, it's okay, we're here for you, and you know that. Jennifer smiled and hugged both of them, saying, thank you. The rest of the school day, Jennifer avoided Nathaniel, and he did not notice her. When the school day ended, the weather remained the same, but it seemed as if a rainstorm was coming. Jennifer was walking home alone when she heard footsteps behind her, and then she felt hands grab her. Jennifer turned to see Nathaniel, and that's when she said, go fuck yourself, you cheating piece of shit. I trusted you. And just as they passed an alleyway, Nathaniel pulled her and began slapping her. Jennifer couldn't defend herself, and then Nathaniel put duct tape on her mouth and said, no one wants to hear you talk, bitch, and then pulled her pants down and began raping her. When Nathaniel was done, he left her on the ground. Jennifer was left there, stripped of her innocence. She cried and got dressed again and began walking home, but she was looking around her constantly, and even with that, she didn't notice the figure perked up behind the tree looking at her. Jennifer got home. Her mom still wasn't there, so she decided to clean herself and did not call the authorities to get justice. She didn't even tell her mom. When Jennifer got out the shower, she felt extreme sleepiness, almost as if provoked. She went into her bedroom and got in bed and fell asleep instantly. Hours passed and she was still asleep until finally she woke up to the sound of thumping coming from inside her room. Jennifer sat up quickly, scared that Nathaniel might have broken in, but when she went to turn on the lights, they didn't work. Jennifer said, fuck, the rain must have cut the power. Then she heard moving from her closet. She slowly turned around and looked at the closet door, and then it swung open. Jennifer's heart was racing. Silence filled the room. Wake up! Screamed the voice as this shadowy silhouette jumped out at her. Jennifer screamed and then woke up to her alarm. She had slept for the rest of the day and night and woke up just in time to get ready for school. In the car ride to school, Jennifer began to think about revenge. She wanted to get back at Nathaniel for what he did to her. She began brainstorming some ideas all throughout the day until she got a good one. When the last class of the day came, Jennifer ditched and went home. When she got home, she began to change for this revenge plan she had, but halfway into getting ready, she collapsed. Jennifer woke up to the room filled in darkness and heard, "Don't do it, just leave it alone." Jennifer had had enough and said, "I don't care who you are, go fuck yourself. I'm done being the nicest person." Jennifer woke up. Jennifer was confused to what had happened until it hit her. It was just a vision, but she didn't care. She got what she needed and left her house. Jennifer waited for the school to end and began to search for Nathaniel. When she spotted him, she followed him from a distance all the way to his house. Jennifer was not about to back out, so she hid behind cars until night came. Once again, Jennifer then saw that the girl that he cheated on her with arrived. It was a bonus. Jennifer creeped up to the house and went around the back and saw that the girl and Nathaniel were in the back. The plan was coming all together. Jennifer waited for Nathaniel to go inside for just a minute, to which he did 20 minutes later. Once he was inside, Jennifer crept up behind the girl, and once she was behind her, she covered her mouth and stabbed her through the throat twice, killing her instantly. Jennifer laid the body and waited for Nathaniel to come back. When Nathaniel came out, he saw Jennifer's bag and his girl on the floor. As Nathaniel went to check it out, he panicked and yelled, "Babe!" That's when Jennifer turned and said, "Yes, love?" Nathaniel saw the knife she had on her hand and said, "What did you do?" To which Jennifer replied, "I did this because I love you. I'm the one for you." "No," said Nathaniel as he reached for his phone to call the police. Jennifer threw the knife at Nathaniel, to which he screamed but froze. But Jennifer didn't. Jennifer said, "Huh?" in confusion and walked up to him, and she proceeded to push the knife deeper, and that's when she heard, "Jennifer." Jennifer turned around and saw this female spirit levitating. Jennifer screamed, "What do you want with me? I warned you and you ignored me, and on top of that you killed an innocent girl." Jennifer said, "He deserved it. I needed justice." "Justice? You killed them both, and for that I'll show you justice." Jennifer was confused, but she saw this mist-like portal open and two cloaked, levitating, zombified skeletons came out. Jennifer began to get scared and asked, "What's going on?" The spirit replied, "Go fuck yourself," and then these beings flew directly into Jennifer. Jennifer screamed as they got closer and then went through her. They did this multiple times. "You killed an innocent, so you shall feed on the innocent." Jennifer's skin got hard and tough. Her eyes turned yellow. She even grew a tail with a stinger. Her hands grew pincers. She was becoming a toxic scorpion. "Rise, Toxicity," said the spirit. Time unfroze, and when the parents came to check what happened, they got a stinger right through their faces, and Jennifer began to eat them as they were innocent. When she was done, she left through the woods, where she began lurking in the shadows. Jennifer was the nicest person who got her innocence taken away, but she still loved Nathaniel, but decided that revenge was the good idea. She did revenge out of love and now had to pay for it by eating innocence just to survive, but that would mean that everyone would be dead to her. Jennifer screamed, "You're all dead to me."
You're dead to me. Riddle me this. When is it you decided to turn into a bitch? We used to be lower than down. Anybody that knew us would admit. Then you suddenly switched. Yeah, you suddenly switched. In all of my years, I never seen someone corrupted so quick. Lately, I'm feeling like I'm being haunted by all of these demons that I got inside of me. Deep in my arteries, don't even know the reason of pathology. Fuck it, I feel like I'm ready to blow up. I'm ready to blow up and call it a rap. Call it a rap. You can have all my shit if it means that I see you, I don't want it back.